Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam review class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. We are discussing from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we discussed how Krishna, after destroying all the demoniac kings on the planet, he decided to uh, take the burden from the Mother Earth, which was in the form of the family members of Krishna, the Yadu dynasty. And then Krishna arranged for the Brahmanas to curse the Yadu dynasty. And we saw the whole story and we saw various reasons. And after the dynasty of Krishna was cursed, Yadu dynasty was cursed, Vasudev, he became afraid. He knew that now Krishna is going to leave very soon. And he was thinking that I have not taken advantage of the association of Krishna. So he went to Narad Muni, because Narad Muni and all the other sages, they would keep coming to the palace of Krishna, and they would visit various places in Dwarka. Vasudev, once when Narada, he went to Vasudev, the father of Krishna, Vasudev asked him, please tell me how I can make my life perfect. I was so bewildered I could not take advantage of the association of Krishna. So that is how Vasudev, he is expressing his natural humility, the humility of a great devotee. So Narad Muni, to answer this question, he starts a conversation which happened between Navyogendras and Nimi Maharaj. And we saw how Navyogendras, they were the sons of Rishabhadev, and they were liberated souls. When they came to the palace of Nimi Maharaj, the place where he was performing sacrifice, Nimi Maharaj, he could understand that these are great devotees of the Lord. He welcomed them and gave them nice seat, nice place to sit, and then he humbly asked 9 questions to 9 Navyogendras. So yesterday we discussed the 2 questions which were discussed in the second chapter, the question about bhakti and question about bhakta, and we discussed in great detail. So today we'll be discussing the third question, the third chapter. The chapter is entitled as the liberation from illusory energy. So this is also a little long chapter, and lots of concepts and very important points are discussed. We may go little uh, beyond our regular time. So Nimi Maharaj, now he is asking the third question. So why he is asking this question? Because in the last chapter, in the 48th verse, there was a verse which was written there. In that it was mentioned Vishnor Mayam Idam Pasha in the 48th verse. So a pure devotee of the Lord, he should see the entire universe to be the illusory energy of the Lord, illusory potency of the Lord. So when Nimi Maharaj, he heard about this illusory potency, he wanted to ask about the Maya. Parasya Vishnorishasya Mayinam api mohinim mayam veditum ichchamo bhagavanto bruvantunah. O great sages, please describe the Maya potency of the Lord. Mayinam api mohinim. This Maya potency can bewilder even the great mystics. Therefore, Mayam veditum ichchamo. I want to know about the illusory potency of the Lord. Bhagavanto bruvantuna. Please speak about this, O great sages. So therefore, we know that in this material world, everybody from top to bottom, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna, from the greatest of the Devtas, Brahmaji, from the lowest of the insects, everybody is engrossed in sense gratification, trying to enjoy. So the celestial senses of the Devtas, they are more powerful, and the gross senses of the human beings, they are less powerful. But both of them are busy in enjoying sense gratification. And therefore, Nimi Maharaj is asking to understand how one can become free from this very powerful illusory potency. Mama Maya Duratyaya. Because if one understands about Maya, then one can become averse to it. So therefore, Nimi Maharaj is now expressing his eagerness. Nanutripyejushan yushmad vacho hari kathamritam sansaratapanistapto martyastattapa bheshajam. He says, O great sages, I am not satisfied by drinking the Harikatha. This theme comes many times in Bhagavatam. All the hearers of Bhagavatam, they are always glorifying and appreciating and encouraging the speaker. Please speak more. I am not satisfied. As we know in the first canto also, the sages, they are telling to Suta Goswami, Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yashanavatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. Please keep describing the glories of Lord. We are not satisfied. So therefore, Nimi Maharaj is also saying, I am not satisfied. Please speak more. So now, Sri Antariksha, the third of the Navyogendras, Sri Antarikshji, he starts describing about the Maya. So to describe Maya, he describes the creation and annihilation. So he says, Lord, as Mahavishnu, he activated the material elements. Basically, now he is going to describe the process of creation, how the material universe is created, and then how it is annihilated. So in very short, he'll describe the entire process. So Lord creates the material elements, and then we have heard in great detail in the second canto how when from the skin pores of the Lord Mahavishnu, Dravya comes out. In that Dravya, Kala, Karma, Swabhava and Jiva, they are impregnated. And because the Jivas, they have the tendency to enjoy sense gratification. So these Jivas, one very important word which is used in this third verse is Swamatra Prasiddhaye and Atma Prasiddhaye. Living entities, they have the desire, free will. They can use that free will to engage in sense gratification, or they can use that free will to get liberation from this material world. Because based on how we associate Karanam Guna Sangoasya Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu, if the living entities, they associate with liberated souls, they will get liberated. If one associates with sense gratifiers, they will get more and more entangled. That's how they keep traveling to the upper planetary systems, middle planetary systems, and lower planetary systems. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasa. So this Atma Prasiddhaye and Matra Prasiddhaye is very, very important. Matra means the sense objects. One who is engaged in sense gratification, or Atma Prasiddhaye, one who is engaged in the process of liberation. So therefore, Lord is such a wonderful, merciful personality. Although living entities, they have rebelled against God, Lord is giving them all the facilities for enjoyment. Basically, Lord is creating the intelligence, mind, senses, vital layer. Everything is created by The Lord. Why? Because living beings, they wanted to enjoy. Either we want sense gratification or we want liberation. So Lord facilitates all our activities. That is the supreme merciful nature of the Lord. So Chakravarti Thakur also writes that now Antariksh Ji will be describing the process of creation in the 3 verses. So he says, now the living entities, because they are sent by the Supreme Lord in the material world, and Lord activates the mind and the senses. So therefore, the jiva uses the mind and senses to engage in sense gratification. And he engages in sense gratification based on the 3 modes of material nature. And the more one engages in sense gratification, the more he starts thinking, I am the controller. I am the enjoyer. The false identity starts. And therefore, he becomes more and more entangled in sense gratification. And therefore, he sometimes experiences happiness, sometimes experiences distress. So the living entity is called as Ishvara, Prabhu in this verse, because he is the decision maker. How I want to continue my life. Do I want to get liberated or do I want to stay in this world? Lord never interferes in the free will. And because of the desire to enjoy, a living entity suffers repeated birth and death in this material world, keeps suffering. And this cycle goes on till the time of annihilation. So therefore, somebody may ask, if the living entity were subjected to a result of previous activities, right? Then where is the free will? Some people ask, पहले जो किया था वही कर्मों का फल मिल रहा है, तो where is our free will? So example is given. If somebody takes a flight ticket, so before he takes the flight ticket and boards the train, he has full independence of whatever he wants to do. But once he boards the flight, there is no free will. If he says, I want to jump out, I don't want to go to Delhi, you have to go to Delhi. But there is a free will, what you can do on the flight. You can sit peacefully, you can sleep, you can make friends with your other people who are sitting, you can read newspaper, you can do so many things. So free will is there till the time we don't take any decision, till the time we don't choose to act. Once we act, then there is no free will. So because the living entity has used his free will in a wrong way for so many years, so many lifetimes, he is suffering in this world. So now, so this person, living entity, he is wandering in the cycle of birth and death till annihilation. At the time of annihilation, what happens? Lord withdraws the entire cosmos. How he withdraws? A terrible drought starts. It stays for 100 years. There is no food to eat, and sun starts increasing the temperature, and it becomes so severe that it starts tormenting all the 3 worlds. And then on top of that, we have heard in the 5th canto, on the below Bhumandala, Sankarshan is there, Lord Shesha is there. Fire starts coming from the mouth of Shesha, and this fire burns everything. And then that is not sufficient. Then the Samvartaka cloud comes. Samvartaka clouds are the clouds which are summoned at the time of annihilation. They start raining torrents of rains in pillars, not drops, in pillars the rains fall. It rains for 100 years like this. And because of this rainfall, entire universe is submerged in water. And then our Brahmaji, he gives up his manifested body and merges into a subtle unmanifest nature. So Brahma, so very nice description is given. What happens to Brahma? He says most of the times Brahma is a pure devotee, right? So after the whole lifespan of Brahma is over, he goes to the spiritual world. But in some cases, Brahma may not be a devotee. Some Brahmas are karmis, some Brahmas are jnanis, and some Brahmas are devotees. So a Brahma who is a karmi, he again comes back in the material world in the next when the next creation begins. Till that time, he is there in the body of Mahavishnu. Those who are jnanis, the Brahma who is a jnani, what happens to him? He merges into impersonal Brahman. And the Brahma who is a devotee, he goes back to the spiritual sky. But there is another type of Brahma. This type of Brahma is a devotee, but still he has some tendency to be independent. So what happens? He goes to the place where Mahavishnu is staying. He goes to the abode of Mahavishnu, stays there for some time, and then again he has to come back because of the desire to enjoy. So then, after Brahmaji also merges in the unmanifest nature, then the entire cosmic manifestation, all the elements, they start getting deteriorated. Because of the intense wind, the earth element loses its aroma, merges into water. The water element loses its taste because of the wind, merges into fire. The fire element loses its form, merges into air. Air element loses its touch, merges into ether. And then ether merges into false ego. False ego in the mode of ignorance. Mind and material senses and intelligence, they merge in the false ego in the mode of passion. Mind and all the sense devatas, they merge in the false ego in the mode of goodness. And ultimately everything merges into Mahatattva, and Mahatattva enters the body of Mahavishnu again. So this is how the whole creation and annihilation happens. So this is how now, after describing all this, Sri Antariksh Ji says, now I have described about the Maya of the Supreme Lord. What more do you want to hear? So then after this, Nimi Maharaj, he asks the next question. So first question was about bhakti. Second question was about bhakta. Third question was about Maya. And fourth question now he is asking about mukti. He says, Yatha etam aishwarim mayam dustaram kritatmabhihi tarantyanja sthula dhiyo maharsha idamucchatam. He says, O great personalities, how a foolish materialist, sthul dhiya, who is akritatmabhi, who is not self-controlled, who is grossly attached to sense gratification, how he can become disassociated from the material nature. So that is the question now he is asking, because when he heard about all this intense material nature, Maya, how one can become free from it, he is asking. So nobody should feel that King Nimi is not understanding all this. We should know that whenever great personalities in the Bhagavatam, they ask something, they are asking not for themselves, they are asking for the benefit of the hearers. King knows that by the process of bhakti one can become disassociated. Bhakti is the only way. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshata syadisha tapetasya viparyaya smriti yanmayato buddha bhajetam. Only by Guru Devatatma, only by Bhaktyayaka Esha Guru Devatatma, only by the process of bhakti one can get liberated. So Nimi Maharaj knows all this, but is asking all this for the welfare of the people in general. Why? Because he was seeing that in the assembly of Nimi Maharaj, there were some people who were karmis. So for their welfare, he was asking. So now when he asks this question, now the fourth Navyogendra, Sri Prabuddha, he replies. He says actually karmis, they can never cross the ocean of Maya because they are so very absorbed. They are so very absorbed in the sex life in this world. Actually, in this world, people they are working so very hard to get happiness. But actually, O king, there is no happiness in this material world. Karmani arma karmani arabhamananam dukkha hatyaye sukhaya cha pashyet paka viparyasam mithuni charinam nrinam. He says people who are karmis, those who want to enjoy, they constantly make material endeavors. So many endeavors they are making to enjoy. But what they get, they want happiness, but they are getting dukkha. Vidura also asked the same question to Maitreya. Sukhaya karmani karoti loko naitai sukham vanyaduparamam va Vindeta bhuyah tata eva dukkham yadatra uktam bhagavan vadennaha. Vidura also asked the same question to Maitreya. People in this world, they are hankering for happiness. This is a very, very important thing. That is a conception people have. I can become happy in this world and I don't need God. That is not possible. People expect Ram Rajya without Ram. Not possible. So that is what Prabuddha is also saying. Dukkha hatyai sukhaya cha. They want to eliminate unhappiness and they want to get happiness. They want to increase their pleasure. But what happens? Pashyet pak viparyasam. But they should know, they should see that they will inevitably achieve the opposite result. What is that opposite result? Their happiness will inevitably vanish and their dukkha will inevitably increase. When the body grows old, so many problems, diseases, knee pain, angam galitam palitam mundam dashana vihinam jatam tundam vriddho yapi grihitva dandam tadapi na munchati asa pindam. All these things happen when a person grows old. So therefore the distress is going to increase and happiness is going to decrease. So distress will increase for sure. So therefore, without the mercy of the devotees of the Lord, it is so very difficult to understand that I am not this body, I am soul. And then what people do else in this world, they try to enjoy by getting more and more money. Money is sweeter than honey. People think if I'll get more money, I'll be happy. But you know what is the nature of money? It is a source of perpetual distress. Nitya artidena vittena durlabhena atmamrityuna grihapatyapta pashubhi ka priti sadhitai chalai nitya arti dena. Money gives constant pain. Constant misery is there when one tries to acquire more and more money. Durlabha atma. First of all, it is difficult to acquire and it is so very distressful. It is like death for the soul. Just to maintain one's so-called home, family, children, relatives, domestic animals, people, they are working so very hard. But how can one get ultimate happiness? So in the one of the verse which will come in the future in this canto, which will describes all the stages of uh, all the stages related to money are distressful. Arthasya sadhane siddhe utkarshe rakshane vai nashopabhog ayasas trasas chinta brahmoninam. Arthasya sadhane. First of all, acquiring money is difficult. Sadhane siddhe, to maintain it. Utkarshe, to increase it. Rakshane, protect it. Why? Even to spend money you have to struggle. Nash, upabhog. So when you want to, even if you want to enjoy it, four things one experiences. Ayashas, Tras, Chinta and Bhram. Ayash means great endeavor. Tras means misery, chinta anxiety, and brahma illusion. So money is a source of perpetual distress. So what happiness is obtained by a person? By wealth, there is no happiness. By relatives, by family members, and all the other things related to it, no happiness. So where is the happiness in this material world? Forget about this material world. Forget about this earth. Somebody may say, "Arey, Swarg jayenge." You know, Swarg is so very wonderful. He says, no, there is no happiness even in the heaven. First of all, going to heaven is difficult. Even if you go to heaven, there is also rivalry. All the devatas, they are also so very envious. Rivalry for supremacy, we have heard in the previous cantos. And there is constant fear. Arey, khatam ho jayega punya. I'll have to go back. Fearful of losing the piety. So going to heaven is also so very miserable. So therefore, either a good condition or bad condition, both are miserable in this material world. So therefore, devotee of the Lord, he does not lament or rejoice for this. So there is a elaborate purports written for every verse in this 11th canto, and very insightful purports are there. So this verse, this in this purport, it is described that how every conditioned soul in this world, he wants to become the greatest person, and for that he wants to work so very hard. I want to become the greatest. And because of that, what happens? Chintam aparimeyam cha pralayantam upashritah kamopabhoga parama etavaditi nishchitah chintam aparimeyam. Unlimited anxieties one has to suffer because of this rat race of material existence. Kab tak? Pralayantam, till the death comes. And they only want to enjoy. Therefore, they do so many things, and the result is Asha Pashatair Baddha Kamakrodha Parayana Ihante Kama Bhogartham Anya Yenartha Sanchayan. They are bound by the chains of desires. They are devoted to Kama and Krodha. Kama Krodha Parayana. Somebody is Narayan Parayan, they are Kama Krodha Parayan. So therefore, in this world, unless one is attached to sense gratification, he cannot be happy. He cannot get liberated. How to get liberated? First of all, you have to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Tasmad gurum prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upashramashrayam. Therefore, tasmad gurum prapadyeta, surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. A person who is jigyasu, who is inquisitive, and he is working for shreya. Shreya and preya. Shreya means the ultimate highest good, and preya means the immediate benefit. So the person who is working for the ultimate benefit, he should surrender to a spiritual master. Who is a spiritual master? Shabde parecha nishnata. He is expert in two things. He is expert in the material world, in the Vedic literature, and he is expert in the spiritual, the topics of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shabde parecha nishnata. He is expert in Vedic scriptures which are describing how to live in this material world, and he is expert in pare also. He is expert in taking one back to the spiritual world. This is a symptom of a self-realized soul who can become a guru. And one more thing is Brahmani Upashramashrayam. Brahmani means he is himself liberated. He is never touched by the material desires. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was speaking in the class. I can never be attached to Maya. I will never fall down. Maya can never touch me. And everybody said, Jai Prabhupada. After the class, Prabhupada, he was there standing in front of the deities and he was praying. Very intensely he was praying. So afterwards, one devotee asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what were you praying? So Prabhupada said, I was praying that I may not fall down. So he was confused. In the class, Prabhupada said, I will never fall down, Maya can never touch me. And now Prabhupada is praying that I may not fall down. So he asked Prabhupada, what is that, Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, because I am praying, that's why I will not fall down. So that's how a devotee has intense faith in Krishna. He is personally very pure. So therefore he can take one out of the material world. So therefore one must keep intense faith in the spiritual master. Because if one is faithless, doubtful and ignorant, they cannot achieve success either in this life or in the next. Adyasya ashraddhanasya shamshayatma vinashyati nayam loko asti na paro na sukham shamshayatmanah. A doubting soul can never be happy either in this world or in the next. So therefore, spiritual master, he is always under the internal potency. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. So the spiritual master is personally free from any of the urges of senses. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam and all that. He is perfected in that. And therefore, uh, what one should do after going to the spiritual master? One should serve the guru. Accept the spiritual master as the life and soul and serve him. Because when you serve the Lord gives himself to his devotees. Lord becomes controlled by the devotees. And that's what Lord showed by, the example of Bali Maharaj. Lord became the doorkeeper. So we are on the third chapter, 22nd verse. So Lord became the doorkeeper for Bali Maharaj. So one who surrenders to the Guru and serves Krishna, Lord gives himself to the devotee. And therefore one should serve the Guru without any duplicity, and he should be satisfied, with that service. And what are the other qualifications which a disciple should have? First of all, he should deal with the devotees very properly. We have discussed in the second chapter how he deals with the devotees, how he deals with the ignorant people, how he deals with the envious people. So disciple should associate with Guru and Krishna, make friends with devotees, show mercy to the innocent people, and neglect and avoid the envious people. So therefore, those who are pure devotees, those who are first class devotees, they sometimes may give their association to the materialistic people if the materialistic person is eager to advance in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, devotees have no need to associate with materialistic people. And therefore, a disciple should cultivate the various qualities of Shaucham tapastitiksham cha maunam swadhyayam arjavam brahmacharyam ahimsa cha samatvam dvanda sangayoh. Maintain cleanliness, austerity, tolerance, silence, study of the scriptures, brahmacharya, complete celibacy, non-violence, and equanimity in the face of dualities like happiness and distress, heat and cold. That is the quality of a devotee. So therefore, he should maintain external cleanliness and internal cleanliness. How to maintain external cleanliness? By taking bath, by cleaning oneself, and internal cleanliness by destroying any tinge of pride and hypocrisy. Otherwise, if one neglects to follow these rules and regulations, then what will happen? He'll become overcome by lust and anger. He'll become completely ignorant of the spiritual knowledge. Ajnanena vritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavah. So therefore, what is arjavam? Arjavam means simplicity. One time Srila Prabhupada asked the devotees, am I simple or crooked? So devotees were confused. They said, Prabhupada, of course you are simple. Again Prabhupada asked, are you sure? Devotee said, yes, Prabhupada, you are simple. Prabhupada said, no, I am crooked. I tricked all of you to come to Krishna consciousness. That's how Prabhupada did. He served them so very nicely. They all could not help but come to Krishna. They were completely attached to Srila Prabhupada. That's a devotee. He gives association to the innocent people. And because of this, what happens? By the practice of devotional service in this way, by surrendering to the spiritual master, ultimately he develops a equal vision. He develops a vision of Pandita Samadarshinaha. He sees super soul everywhere. And to increase um, such a level of devotion, he does not associate with mundane people. He tries to stay in a secluded place away from the association of non-devotees, and he gives up all the bodily demands. And therefore, and in this purport, Prabhupada writes, and this verse says that, he does not even care to, wear anything nice. He's just interested, he just wears some scraps of cloth which are available. So in the purport, it is very nicely described that a devotee of the Lord, practicing Krishna consciousness in the current scenario in Kali Yuga, one should dress very decently, because if we are staying in the outside world and wearing all the scraps and all the discarded cloth, nobody will come and take shelter of Krishna consciousness. So because we have to present the philosophy, then you have to dress also nicely. As it is said, first you dress and then address. Otherwise, people will be repelled by just the sight of the devotees. One time, devotees, they wrote to Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, there are some devotees who are not wearing dhoti and kurta for doing book distribution, and they are wearing all the Western clothes. And they were thinking Prabhupada will smash these devotees, and they will say, this is all nonsense. You have become distracted, deviated. But Prabhupada, he wrote a very wonderful reply. He said, if you don't feel comfortable in pant, shirt, Western clothes, then you may wear dhoti. So the devotees, their pride was shattered. They were thinking the other way. They were thinking Prabhupada would write, if you don't comfortable in dhoti, then you wear Western dress. But Prabhupada said, if you don't feel comfortable in Western dress, then you may wear dhoti kurta. So therefore, the point is, do whatever is needful to preach this message, maintaining the standards of devotional service. So this devotee, his conviction is he has firm faith in the scriptures. He has firm faith that success will come for sure. This is very important verse. In the 26th verse, very huge purport is written, and the verse very nicely says, a devotee never blasphemes scriptures. What is the second offense against the holy names? To blaspheme the scriptures, who are, you know, uh, not telling about the principles of devotional service. Blaspheme Vedic scriptures are scriptures and persons of the Vedic version. Third offense. So what does this mean? We as Vaishnava, we don't offend Bhagavatam, we don't offend Bhagavad Gita. So then why it is written to blaspheme Vedic scriptures or scriptures and persons of the Vedic version? No, none. No of the devotee will do this. So the Vedic scriptures does not mean only the devotional scriptures. There are some scriptures who may be describing the karma kandi rituals. There are some scriptures who may be describing about the kala shastra, like art, science, material arts, and all that. A devotee should never ever blaspheme such scriptures also, because these scriptures, they are indirectly connected to the Lord. They bring a person slowly to the level of devotional service. So a devotee never blasphemes any scriptures because everything is given by Krishna in such a way that ultimately a living entity will come to Krishna. So this person has firm faith in the scriptures. He completely controls his senses. Mano vak kaya dandam. Mano vak kaya dandam means he has complete control over his body, mind, and speech. In this way, he is actually liberated. And then after this, he describes that the devotee, he does everything only for the pleasure of the Lord. Shravanam kirtanam dhyanam hareradbhuta karmanah janmakaram gunanam cha tadarthe akhila cheshtitam. Tadarthe akhila cheshtitam. Hearing, chanting, glorifying the Lord, whatever he is doing only for one purpose, for the satisfaction of the Lord. Samsiddhir hari toshanam. Whatever austerity, whatever tapasya, charity, penance, whatever he is doing, whatever sacrifice he is doing, everything is for the purpose of the Lord's pleasure. Ishtam dattam tapo japtam vettam yachatmanah priyam daran sutan grihan pranan yapparasmaye nivedanam. Whatever is pleasing to him, wife, children, home, he is always eager to offer it to the Supreme Lord. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi dadasiyat. Everything is offered to the Supreme Lord. So therefore, this devotee, what is the highest duty of a devotee? Highest duty of a devotee is to cultivate friendship with the devotees. Highest duty of a devotee is to serve the living entities. And highest duty of the devotee is to practice the religious principles very nicely. And what else he does? Again, very, very wonderful, very important, very famous verse is described. Parasparano kathanam pavanam bhagavat mitharati mithatushti nivrittir mithatmanah. A devotee should always associate with other devotees. And in association, what one should do? Parasparano kathanam. Just chant the glories of the Lord. What is the characteristic of a pastime and glories of the Lord? Pavanam. This is most purifying. The glories of the Lord, they are most purifying. And therefore, such type of devotees, when they are always in association of the friends who are also devotees, they are chanting the names of the Lord, chanting the glories of the Lord in association. What happens? Mitha rati, mitha tushti, and nivritti mitha atmanaha. They develop in very close friendship among devotees. They feel satisfaction and they become free from all the material attachments. Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Macchitta madgada prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Devotees, when they come together, what they do? They don't discuss what is going on in the world, what is the current political affairs, what is happening in the world. No. That is not association. As devotees, we should be politically aware, socially alert, and devotionally active. That is a job description of a devotee. We should know what is happening in the political world, not so much interested, just be aware of it. Alert in the social scenario because we are living in a social circle. But as devotee, we should be very, very active in devotional service. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayantaha parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So that's how a devotee is always interested in discussing Hari Katha. What will happen when he is there in association of devotees? Mutually one will become detached because that's how association is, inspiring to others. So one devotee sees, oh, you are becoming so very detached. From today, I will also become detached. That is what happens in association of devotees. And therefore, what is the result of such type of association? Again, very famous verses are coming. Smaranta smarayantascha mitho agha haram harim bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya bibharti utpulakam tanum. In association, what is done? Smaranta and smarayanta. They remember about the pastimes of the Lord and they make others remember the pastimes of the Lord. Smarayanta. What is the result of this? Mitho agha ogha haram hari. Supreme Lord can destroy the ocean of sinful activities. So therefore, bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. When one is purified of all the contamination, love of God appears in the heart. With the spiritualized consciousness, Utpulakam Tanum, he experiences the emotional ecstasies, devotional ecstasies. What are those devotional ecstasies? Kvachit rudante achyuta chintaya kvachit hasanti nandanti vadanti laukikaah nrityanti gayanti anushīlayantyajam bhavanti tushnim parametya nirvritaah. Sometimes the devotee starts crying, some thinking about the Supreme Lord. Oh, when will I get Krishna? Another day has passed, still I have not achieved Krishna. I have not obtained Krishna. When will I attain? Who can give me Krishna? Where will I go? All these thoughts about Krishna, the devotee starts crying. Achyut chintaya. Hasanti. Sometimes he laughs. You know why he laughs? He's in meditation. In meditation, he's thinking, is seeing Krishna has entered home of a gopi, intending to steal butter. Nobody is there, complete dark. He's thinking nobody is looking at him. Suddenly, a voice comes from the dark. Who is that? Who are you? I say. And then Krishna is caught. He starts running. And the lady, elderly gopi, is running behind Krishna. Seeing all these pastimes of Krishna, the devotee starts laughing. Hasanti. Nandanti. Why he becomes blissful? He attains the realization of Krishna. He can experience Krishna. That gives the greatest joy of life. Vadanti alaukika. Alaukika means they don't care what is happening in the society. They don't regard whatever the society people say. Whatever people say, okay, these all Hare Krishna people, ये सब पागल लोग हैं, whole day their only job is chanting and dancing. They don't do anything practical. What do you do? मतलब मंदिर में आप दिन भर क्या करते हैं आप लोग? मंदिर में जाओ, घंटी बजाओ, प्रसाद मिलेगा, हाथ जोड़िए और आ जाइए. Whole day they are spending in temple. There are mad people. A devotee is not at all concerned about all this. He is only concerned with making Krishna happy. And therefore, he also becomes transcendental. Mam chaya vyabhicharena bhakti yoge na sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He becomes liberated. And sometimes he becomes blissful. Nrityanti, sometimes dances, sometimes sings very loudly. Anushīlayantyajam. Anushīlayanti means he follows in the footsteps of great devotees. Anushīlayanti ajam. And one more thing is he imitates the pastimes of the Lord. Just like gopis, when they were in separation from the Lord, when Krishna left them in the forest, they started imitating the pastimes of the Lord. Anushīlayantyajam. Sometimes he becomes silent. Bhavanti tushnim. Why he becomes silent? Because after he attains Krishna in the heart, he becomes peaceful, he becomes silent. So these are the devotional ecstasies of a devotee. And therefore, having obtained all these realizations and ecstasies, now Prabuddhaji, he concludes this section by describing that the learning of the science of devotional service makes a person reach the stage of love of God. And that happens by complete devotion. Narayana paro mayam anjastarati dustaram. By devotional service to Narayan, one can very easily cross this ocean of material existence. Devi hesha gunamayi mammaya duratya mameve prapadyante maya metam taranti. By surrendering to Narayan, anjastarati. So now after this, when Maharaj Nimi, he hears about Narayan. Anjastarati dustaram. Narayan can make one surrender to Narayan, can make one free from Maya. So he asks about fourth question about Bhagavan. First was about Bhakta. Sorry, first was about Bhakti. Second question was about Bhakta. Third question was about Maya. Fourth question is about Bhagavan. नारायणाभिधानस्य ब्रह्मण परमात्मनः निष्ठाम अर्हत नो वक्तुम यूयम हि ब्रह्मवित्तमाः. Please tell me about the transcendental situation of Supreme Lord Narayan. That Narayan is himself Brahman and himself Paramatma. So please tell me about the Narayan. So he asks about all the three stages, three aspects of Lord, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. So now the fourth Navyogendra, Pippalayan, he replies. So at the end of this section, in the 40th verse, the purport describes about the commentary by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He has told that in these verses from 35 to 39, there is a stage, there is a progression which is there. There is a stage of standard logic which is mentioned in these verses. So in the 35th verse, first he describes about Vishaya. Vishaya means the object of meditation. Who is that? Supreme Lord Narayan. So 35th verse is talking about Narayan. Who is Narayan? He is the cause of creation, maintenance and destruction. He exists in all the three stages of Jagrata, Swapna and Sushupti. And even he is beyond them. He enlivens all the material senses. He enlivens the gross organs and the subtle organs of the body. And therefore he says, my dear king, you should know that the Supreme Lord Narayan is a supreme personality. And then he says, actually, Brahman is one of the features of the Lord. Who is that Brahman? Then he describes about the difference between Brahman and the living entities. Dispels the samshaya. What is a samshaya? Dispels the doubt that living entity can be one with the Lord, can become equal to the Lord. No. Living entity can never become equal to the Lord, because none of our mind, senses, intelligence, words, ego, none of them can describe the supreme absolute truth. He is beyond. Even Vedas cannot describe the supreme absolute truth. Just like the spark of the fire cannot illuminate the fire, similarly, all these things are coming from the Lord. How can they describe the Lord? So it is, when it is written like this, one should not think that Vedas cannot describe the Lord. No, Vedas can describe, but not fully. The sense is, we can understand the Lord not fully. With our mind, with our senses, with our intelligence, we can understand the Lord if we surrender to a devotee of the Lord. If we take shelter of the spiritual master. Yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite kathitahi artha prakashante mahatmana. When we surrender unto the spiritual master, then all the concepts of the Vedic scripture are revealed to a devotee, to a person. And then he says, okay, but somebody may say that if one cannot perceive Brahman, that means Brahman does not exist. That is a Purva Paksha. What others are telling about it? He says, no, even if you cannot perceive Brahman, but still it exists without a doubt. Because it is from Brahman that this whole sansar is coming. This is the cause of the material sansar. Brahman, from Brahman the Pradhan comes, from Pradhan Mahatattva comes, and all the material creation is done. This is all happening by the innumerable potencies of Brahman. And therefore, after describing Brahman, he says, living entities, they can never become one with the Brahman. Living entity is actually eternal, beyond birth and death. Jiva knows only his own body, but he cannot know all the bodies. Kshetra Kshetragya, we have discussed. It is there in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter. A living entity may know whatever is happening in my body. I may know what is happening in my body. I cannot know whatever is happening in others' body. Living entities, they are the knower of the material body, their own material body. And in the pure consciousness, they can serve the Supreme Lord. And then in the end, they say in the 39th verse, it is described how to perceive the soul. How to perceive the soul? It is said that when a person is sleeping, when one is in complete deep sleep, susupti, in deep sleep, none of the mind, none of the senses, intelligence, nobody is active. None of these faculties are active. Even false ego is not active. We are not aware of ourselves. But still in that state, when we get up from the sleep, deep sleep, there is a feeling that I have slept very nicely. From where all this feeling is coming? If our mind is not active, intelligence is not active, senses are not active, false ego is not active, then how one feels that aaj achhe se soya main? That feeling is coming from the consciousness of soul. So that's how one can understand that soul is present in the body. We are not this body, we are soul. Somebody may say, okay, if one experiences the soul when one is asleep, then why that realization does not stay when one gets up? Because when we get up, so many desires are there in the mind. They overpower that consciousness, that realization of the soul. How to be free from all these material desires? By the process of bhakti. By the process of devotional service. In the 40th verse, Pippalayan is saying that by the process of devotional service, one can come to the perfect stage. Just like a prisoner, when he is there in the prison, he may see light coming in the prison. He cannot go out and be in the light completely, but he experiences a glimpse of light. Similarly, when a person is asleep, deep sleep, still when he gets up, he knows that I have slept nicely. That is a glimpse of soul. This is the impetus to make us realize that I am not this body, I am soul. I have to work for it to get the complete realization. That is a process of devotional service. Then after this, Nimi Maharaj asks the 6th question about Karma Yoga. Karma Yogam vadata na purusho yena sanskritah vidhuyeshasu karmani naishkarmyam vindate param. Says, please speak about Karma Yoga, and because by practicing Karma Yoga, one can attain the transcendental platform. And then he says, actually, I had asked the same question to the 4 Kumaras when they had come. In the presence of my father Ikshvaku, I asked the same question to the 4 Kumaras, but they did not answer my question. I don't know why. Please explain the reason for this. So these 2 things he asks. Tell me about Karma Yoga and why those sages, they did not answer my question. So now, the 5th Navyogendra, Avirhotra, he starts speaking. He says, to understand Karma Yoga is very, very difficult. Even great persons are bewildered in understanding Karma. Karma karma vikarmeti vedavado nalaukikaah vedasya cheshwaratmatvat tatra muhyanti surayah. Karma, akarma and vikarma, they can be understood by studying the Vedic scriptures, but they cannot be understood by mental speculation. Therefore, the Vedas, they are the sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, Vedas, they are the perfect knowledge. If somebody wants to understand the principles of karma by his own mental speculation, he will be for sure bewildered. Nobody can understand the principles of karma by mental speculation. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. So if you analyze this 11th canto, as we are reading, we'll understand that Krishna and all these topics are explanation of the concepts which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in brief. So this principle of karma, akarma and vikarma, which is mentioned in the 3rd chapter, here it is described in little more detail. So therefore, Avirhotra ji, he is saying that one cannot understand the principles of karma if one is not taking shelter of the scriptures. Vedo Narayana Sakshat, because Vedas, they are directly coming from the Supreme Lord Narayan. Sorry. So Vedas, they are directly coming from the Supreme Lord Narayan. So therefore, only by taking shelter of the Vedas, one can understand what is karma. And then he says, in this world, people, they want to enjoy sense gratification and then they get liberated. The purpose of engaging in pravritti marg. What is pravritti marg? Pravritti means I will enjoy my senses, and by the process of sense gratification, slowly I'll get detached from it. Just like a father, when he wants to give a medicine to his child may not take the medicine because of its bitter taste. So what father does? Father, he promises the child, I'll give you a candy. If you take this medicine, after this medicine, I'll give you a candy. And then child, he says, okay, to get the candy, I'll have to take this medicine. And then he takes somehow. Similarly, the scriptures, they tell all these processes of sense gratification. Why? Ultimately, the scriptures, they want to bring a person to the level of devotional service. Parokshavad vedoyam balana manushashanam karma mokshaya karmani vidhatte hi agadam yatha. Parokshavad. This is parokshavad. What father is doing is parokshavad. Parokshvad means indirect persuasion. Directly, child is not going to agree. Khana hi nahi hai mujhe medicine. So father tempts the child. Beta khale. If you take the medicine, I'll give you a candy, sugar candy. I'll give you a chocolate. Similarly, the scriptures, they tempt living entities. They tempt the living entities to practice Vedic rituals, and ultimately they bring the person to the process of pure devotional service. That's why Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. The Vedas, they are dealing with all the 3 modes of material nature. Arjuna, just transcend all that. Go beyond the 3 modes. While practicing of the Vedas, what you are going to get? You will go to heaven. There you will enjoy, and then again you will come back here only. Shine punya marte lokam vishanti. What is the use of all this? So therefore, the scriptures, they slowly help us to become detached. If the goal of the Vedas is the freedom from karma, then why Vedas do not tell very clearly? Why indirect way? If the goal is to become free from karmic activities, why not tell at first only? Because we are not sufficiently qualified to give up all our activities at present. The nature of the soul to be active. One cannot give up acting immaturely. So therefore, what will happen if somebody gives up sense gratification prematurely? Just like Arjuna, he told in Bhagavad Gita, I will not fight. I want to go to forest. What did Krishna say? Nahi kaschit shanamapi jato tishtatya karmakrit karyate yavashah karma sarva prakriti jair gunai. One cannot artificially give up acting. Now you are renouncing. Now you are telling, I will renounce. I'll go to forest. In forest, what will happen? Somebody will come and criticize you. Just see this Arjuna. He's a coward. He ran away from the battle. That time you will take out the sword and kill that person. Therefore, nobody can artificially renounce. That's why the scriptures, they give the process of controlled way of sense gratification. Otherwise, if a person has no sense control, then what he'll do? He'll become sinful. He'll engage in sinful activities, and then he'll be repeating in the cycle of birth and death. And therefore, the result of performance of all these Vedic rituals is ultimately one has to become free from karmic reactions. How that will happen? By offering the results to the Lord. So therefore, ultimately, all the scriptures, they are focused on bringing a person from karma kand to sakam karma to nishkam karma yoga. At the level of nishkam karma yoga, one becomes free from the bondage because all the results are offered for the pleasure of the Lord. Therefore, O king, one should not be attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas. Then what one should do? He says karma is for the foolish people. Now I will tell what intelligent person does. How one can cut this knot of false ego. First of all, you have to approach a spiritual master. Take shelter of the spiritual master. Learn to follow the rules and regulations from the spiritual master, which are mentioned in the Vedas. Therefore, after initiation from the spiritual master, one has to learn the process of deity worship. And then he describes the process of deity worship in detail. First of all, one has to cleanse his own body, purify the place, purify the body first with the pranayam and bhuta shuddhi. Just like in every ISKCON temple, before entering the altar, every pujari has to do manas puja. First of all, taking bath very nicely and then putting tilak and then doing achman and then manas puja. Manas puja is for the bhut shuddhi. And then one has to sit in front of the deity and collect all the ingredients which are required for the worship of the deity, the offerings, the whatever is required. And then one has to make his mind very, very receptive, ready for the worship of the deities. Mind should not be distracted. One should be focused that now I am going to worship the deity. And then one has to purify the sitting place also, purify the paraphernalia which you have to offer to the Lord. And then you have to place the deity physically in front of you and in the mind also. Mentally, you should be ready for worshipping the deity. And therefore, after this, one should worship the transcendental body of the Lord, worship the associates of the Lord, weapons of the Lord. What should the attitude of a devotee when he is doing deity worship? He should be completely absorbed, prayerful, respectful, and always remembering the Lord, offering prayers. After doing all this worship, take back all the Mahaprasad remnants. And therefore, in this way, the worshipper, he recognizes Supreme Soul everywhere. And that's how he becomes liberated. He achieves liberation. So that is the end of the third chapter. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Anybody has any questions? You can please ask. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.